3, 2, 1. Okay. Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel here, Doom Productions, home of the No Budget Film School. And today we're back at it with another writing session. I had some time today. I got caught up with editing for Video Carnage, our feature film we're working on right now. And I realized I picked a really bad time to start to do the writing session, because yeah, that was right before we were going to go into a big feature. And every time I've had a couple hours to spare, it's like I need to be editing this, or I need to work on that, or I just need to relax. So I haven't really had a good time to just sit down and do some writing, at least on this thing, do this video. And to be honest, I don't feel like doing it a whole lot right now, but remember, discipline over inspiration. You just got to push through the writing even when it kind of just sucks. You don't feel like doing it, and it'll probably feel great when you get into it. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get into it. So last time we worked on the beat sheet for Mr. Fiddle. This week we will work through the outline, which is very similar to the beat sheet, just with a few more details in there. And I think it's something that you know, it's not totally different, and I think that it feels like a natural next step, because remember, we have the block right here, right? Block of marble, block of clay, whatever. We're just kind of whittling that thing down just as much as we can. So let's get into it. Let's just recap what our beat sheet was. So, Mr. Fiddle, Act 1. The setup: Ethan, Jordan, May, and Morgan are friends. They are moving away. The friends are moving away. Turning point 2, Mr. Fiddle shows up and he's magical. He grants wishes. New situation. The gang celebrates with Mr. Fiddle. Ethan plans to use Mr. Fiddle's magic to keep the gang together. Turning point number 2, something weird happens. Progress. The friends investigate. More weird stuff happens. The friends continue their investigation. Turning point number 3. Mr. Fiddle is revealed to be evil. The gang throws him away. Mr. Fiddle reappears. Complications and higher stakes. They try to throw Mr. Fiddle away, but he keeps coming back. They try to destroy him. Nothing works. They research how to get rid of an evil doll and find a plan. Turning point number 4. So the low point. The gang is about to destroy Mr. Fiddle, but Mr. Fiddle's going to give Ethan an ultimatum. Mr. Fiddle will send the gang to Fiddle Space. Final push. The gang argues. Ethan apologizes, tells his friends how much he loves them. They accept the apology. Turning point number 5. The gang defeats Mr. Fiddle with the power of friendship. Aftermath. Ethan is at peace with moving away. Okay. So, you know, as I was kind of thinking about this today, I realized that Mr. Fiddle is a really bad writing example to use for this process. It's good because it's very simple, but it's bad because if you've seen Mr. Fiddle 3 or Mr. Fiddle 4, there is a ton of just what I can only call as crackhead energy, right? So a lot of it is nonsensical. A lot of it doesn't make sense. It's very, what's the word? The jokes, the scenes, the tone, it's very like a bunch of non sequiturs almost. Like there's a loose structure, but we like to have the feeling that anything could happen in any scene. So going into this, it might be a little different than I actually do it, and I might actually end up choosing another film and doing another writing session just to get a better idea of how to do a serious movie instead of this really cartoony, outlandish kind of thing. But the first thing I do, back to the thing. So Mr. Fiddle, what I'll do for the outline is I'll just copy the document and name it outline. Where'd it go? Here it is. And close that. Okay. So now what I do is I just move through here and I fill in the details and I try to think about the logistics of things. So For instance, setup number 1, or this first setup here. Ethan, Jordan, May, and Morgan are friends. They are moving away. That's very broad information. Let's get even more. So, are they living in the same city? Are they roommates together? Are they going off to college? Are they going to work? Are they going on a trip? Are they going on a trip without Ethan? What does that mean when I say they are friends? And what does that mean when I'm saying they are moving away? So in my head, I think it would be kind of fun to have like a house full of friends. So what I'll say here is, and usually for the outline, sometimes I'll keep these headings, sometimes I won't. I think in this case I will, just to make it easier for you all to see. They're friends, they're moving away. So how do we set that up in the outline? So I think they're going to be, the gang lives in a house together. I think that'll be what I'll say. So what I'll do here actually is this, again, this varies process to process. Whatever you do, you know, whatever works best for you, you do that. But for for the context of this video and showing you all the process and the kind of changes, I'll highlight the outline in, what color should we use? Let's use green. Oh, oops, that's not highlight. This is highlight. I'll highlight that in green so you all can see that. So that will be the all the outlines. The new stuff in white, that'll be the beat sheet. The beat sheet will be in green. The white stuff will all be the new stuff we're adding in, just so you can see what's new, what's different, how it kind of relates. So going forward, the gang lives in a house together. I think, let's say May is going off to college. Jordan is going abroad for school. And Morgan is moving back home. So that's kind of the details for those kind of things. Now, I want to expand upon that. I want to start thinking about scenes a little bit. I want to start thinking about moments, beats, not just logistics, but kind of filling in those details. Remember, whittling this thing down into a nicer sculpture. So I think times that can be kind of vague sentences like this, where this doesn't really give you an idea of the scenes. This is just the setup. So what I'll throw in here is some scenes. So maybe I'll start with a cold open, because a cold open, I'll write down an idea for a cold open, because you can set up so much and kind of tells you all you need to know. So maybe it's game night at the house. That kind of tells you everything you need to know. You know, it's cold open, friends hanging out, they're playing video games, eating pizza, having a good time. And in this scene, sorry, I'm very weird. I think I've said this before with my bullet points. There's no real rhyme or reason to any of this. Just try to follow it best you can. I think you'll get it as I'm writing. So it's game night at the house. So right here, I'm gonna write in my idea for the scene. So I think it's kind of a fun, usual night. Pizza, video games, laughter. And another thing with comedies in particular, when I write comedies, I like to save the jokes for the script section. So the stage 4. So this isn't gonna, I mean, again, Mr. Fiddle's not a great example of how to write like a serious drama, or like might not give you a lot of pointers, but it's an easy, light way to do it. So there's, you know, I know that in my head, in the cold open, there'll probably be some weird kind of hot rod type surrealist humor in here, but in the outline it just says, you know, usual fun night, because I think for me, could be different for you, the story comes first, at least in the outlines, and then if it changes during the script, you know, for the weird jokes, that's cool with me. I'll change it then. So usual fun night. What I think will happen is we get the sense that Jordan, Oh no, here's what it is. Um, yeah, I think it could be a really funny scene, actually, where it's like a one by one kind of thing. So Jordan reveals at some point during the night that he is going abroad for school. Oops. Zoom back in. And then you can have a scene where, in the same scene, you can have a moment where, like, Ethan's like, oh no, that's like, because remember, this is kind of Ethan's arc. That's his story. Ethan's like, oh no, he's going to school. Well, at least it'll still be the three of us going to school. And then May's like, actually, no, I'm going off to college. And he's like, well, at least it'll be you and me, Morgan. And Morgan's like, I'm actually going back home. So it'll be kind of like a domino effect kind of thing. So where each friend is like, I'm leaving, and Ethan's the only one. So Jordan reveals he's going abroad to school. Then May reveals that they are going off to college. Okay. Here we go. Then Morgan reveals that she is moving back home. Okay. And with all that kind of... Actually, this is kind of important. So I will... As you see, as I wrote out that opening scene, it kind of made this paragraph totally irrelevant, this little bullet point, so I deleted that. This is kind of important, so I'm going to copy and paste that above, because it tells me a bit about the setup. So I think then what would be fun from there is you have an opening montage. The friends throughout the summer. So let's say this is leading up to everyone leaving. So let's say we have, this is set in June. Everyone's going away at the end of August. So we have a montage of like the friends hanging out. Maybe during that Ethan is like the only one not really having a great time. Doesn't have to be a really long montage. It can be a short thing. But just something to convey, be really clear. Ethan's not having fun. The other friends are unfazed by this. They're ready to move on. Ethan's not ready to move on. Remember, you want to set up your story in the beginning, at least with something like this. That's my kind of thing. And again, everything I'm saying here about this is what's best for this story. Every story has a different rhythm. It has a different kind of tempo. It's got a different feel, tone, mood, all that kind of stuff. What's right for this movie is not necessarily right for your movie. So you need to write what's best for your movie. Yeah, so just keep that in mind. Sorry, I keep like coughing and something's in my throat. Not COVID. I think it's just allergies. Okay, so everyone's leaving. So then the friends plan to have one last blowout. Not blowout, game night. So night of pizza, games, drinking, all that kind of stuff. Fun night. Now that can be covered in that can be covered over multiple scenes, or it could be covered over one scene. I feel like, for me, what feels best for this script, the way I write it, is I would rather decide that in the next stage, the scriptment, whether that's covered on in one scene or multiple scenes, because you could have a thing where it's like leading up to the very last game night, where it's like maybe Monday through Friday. The game night's going to be on Friday night, so it's Monday through Friday, and Ethan's trying to get everyone like, hey, you free this Friday? You free this Friday? You free this Friday? And he's trying to wrangle everyone to have a game night. Maybe the friends aren't like, their schedules aren't syncing up, and then he's like, come on, it'll be really fun. And then he's like, okay, bam, like I got everyone one last game night. We have to do this. It could be something like that. It could also just be, bam, we're in game night, and this is the last game night, and there's no lead up to it. So again, that's something I'd rather discover in the next stage. All I really need to know, the only detail that I need to know now is that they're going to have one last game night, and that's kind of where the meat of the story is going to happen. So let's say that... Oh, you know what, actually? I think I got an idea. Let's go down this rabbit hole. It might suck, but let's see where this goes. So, friends have one last game night. I actually am going to have the lead up. So, Ethan tries to wrangle his friends. So actually, Ethan wants to have one last game night. Ethan tries to wrangle his friends to have game night. Everyone's schedules are weird and can't commit. They can't commit to game night. Ethan's sad. So let's say then then we get to, let's have Thursday. Thursday before game night. Ethan is sad that his friends are moving. So, and then Ethan sees an ad on TV for Wish granting statue/doll called Mr. Fiddle. That does not need to capitalize. Okay. Ethan wishes, or Ethan calls and orders the number, but not the number, the doll. Ethan calls and orders the doll. And the turn point, Mr. Fiddle arrives. And you can play it a couple different ways. Again, this is one of those things that I like to discover kind of as I'm writing this with this kind of movie. So what I will say is you could either play it where bam, he's magical right when he appears and it immediately works, or you could have a little bit of lead up to that moment. So in this moment, what I think would be interesting is Mr. Fiddle arrives on the doorstep. Again, the logistics of this, remember, this is a really cartoony universe, so it works in this universe where Ethan calls, hey, I'd like to order the doll. Ding dong, the doll is already there on the door. That works because this is a cartoony universe. So something like that would happen. Mr. Fiddle arrives at the door. Ethan tries to wish his friends to stay for game night. Let's say he's like, I wish that my friends were free for game night. And he would probably be like waiting by his phone, waiting for someone to text, and it doesn't happen. You know, there's no immediate result. It's not like the friends are suddenly just really free all of a sudden. And so then he wishes for something else. So maybe he wishes to be rich, but he uses a phrase like, or he hears the phrase like, money doesn't grow on trees. Because I have an idea of like, there's a reveal where the money, like he looks outside and he sees money growing on trees. So, and you know what, that almost is... You know, I think that works fine right there. So then, this is a big turning point. I mean, technically this is like not a turning point. This is the lead up to it. So I'm actually gonna move that back. Put it right there. Because the turning point is the moment at which things either change or there's new information revealed. Right there, nothing is really different. It's just a natural progression. I called and ordered a doll, the doll shows up. Wishes for money, money doesn't happen. So the turning point would be the next day, the gang is suddenly free for game night. So that's Friday night. And so it's a great, awesome thing. Ethan, and you can also have a reveal. I want to have a reveal. This is more of this is an example of how specific you can be with these outlines. So Ethan will look outside and see money on trees. So this is why this is the turning point, because, oh, I have a magic doll. So then you can have, so then this is game night again. Fun times. Pizza, video games, laughter. Maybe, and now again, the details of how that's shown I will save for later, but I would like to have a scene, kind of a low energy scene after partying where friends reminisce. Ooh, I don't know how to spell that. Reminisce, there you go. Spell check is awesome. So they reminisce. You can have, now that can go a lot of different ways. It can really, do a lot there with just conversations and friends hanging out. One thing I would like to include is Ethan tells the gang about Mr. Fiddle. So you could have a moment where they're like, man, I can't believe that my schedule just happened to, this thing cleared up. And Morgan's like, I can't believe that my flight got delayed. And I'm like, I can't believe this happened. And then Ethan would be like, guys, this is what it is. I actually bought this doll. It's a Magic Witch. You're not going to believe me. So then you could have, and then maybe they're like drinking. They're like, I don't believe you at all. And he's like, it's true. It happens. So what you can do from there is you can have, friends don't believe Ethan. Ethan shows them Mr. Fiddle. Magic. So then it would be great if you had a magical montage. So like Morgan's like, I wish I had a big ice cream cone, and then she's got an ice cream cone. Or I'm like, Jordan's like, I wish I had a nice car, and then a car pulls up in front of the road. A real kind of, you can do a lot with that. Again, something that's better saved for the script, in my opinion. For me anyways. So musical montage. And I think what would be great for turning point number 2 is this is where things start to go weird. So would probably be best is if, let's see. I'm thinking. Real-time writing. See, this is actually what a lot of the writing looks like. It's just me thinking. So I'm going to think out loud so you can hear my thought process. What I'm thinking is Mr. Fiddle being revealed to be evil right here doesn't fit the natural progression, I don't think. I think it would make more sense if something evil happened here. Or something weird. So, I'm thinking about restructuring this. This ultimatum beat is still going to be right there. So again, if something doesn't work back here, you can always work your way backwards. I think this structurally works, for me anyways. Complications, higher stakes. I think that works fine. I think the complications of, like, the stake, midpoint, something happens and the gang's like, okay, we are going to get rid of Mr. Fiddle. So I think that works. So maybe it does still work. I don't know. We're going to try this. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It might change. So what I'm going to put in is that let's say one weird thing happens. So I'm going to just put weird things start to happen. Maybe Jordan sees visions of like gore and blood and nasty stuff during this wish montage. Not gore. Gore. You could have maybe like wish goes wrong. So what I mean by that's, again, kind of vague, might be better to figure out later, but like they'll wish like, I wish I had a nice pencil or something like that, and then they wish, and then the pencil's like through their hand, and it's like, ah. So a wish would go wrong. So I'll just, actually I'll say their wishes start to go wrong. In like weird kind of goosebumps kind of ways. So maybe now they're not so wishy. Maybe they're not investigating here. What happens is like they continue with game night, but no one wants Mr. Fiddle around. So they're like, hey, get rid of him. We'll just have him off to the side there. So then actually what I thought this would be more of an investigation thing, but now what I'm thinking is where the story's taking me is maybe it's not an investigation. Maybe the first half of Act 2 is the friends trying to go about, the gang tries, I'm such a notorious like misspeller or like bad speller, just so y'all know. The gang tries to normal last night. A lot of this will be dialogue based, a lot of it will be kind of joke based. It's going to be fairly normal, but at the end of each scene, something strange and nefarious, that's a big word that means something evil, kind of, so I'm going to use it, happens. So they're playing video games and the screen glitches out and you see like violence. So example, TV screen plays evil things. You could also have, maybe they're eating, their food turns to bugs, like in Lost Boys. You could also have a scene where maybe one of them is washing their hands and the water turns into blood. And actually, yes, okay. Restructuring time. So the friends don't believe him. Going back to his new situation, Ethan shows them Mr. Fiddle's magic, musical montage. Here's what I'm going to do. Ethan shows friends Mr. Fiddle's magic and proves it to them. Now magical montage. Nothing weird. So it's like good times are rolling, happy, celebrating, all that kind of stuff. Then after that kind of high of the musical montage, come back down, and now it's just like, okay, we're gonna eat pizza, and then oops, the bugs, weird stuff starts to happen. And maybe while in each, I'm gonna write this down, they are casually using Mr. Fiddle, not thinking about it. So they're like wishing for, they're making wishes. Like, oh man, I wish I had a pack of gum. And they eat gum and it starts to go wrong. So as the night continues, the stakes are, that's very not helpful actually. The wishes get more and more screwed up. So a way I like to break these kind of sections down is breaking down to three. So what are three things that happen? Three big things that can happen. These things are kind of small, but actually I do like the TV playing. That's kind of, you know what? Bad things happen. So bad thing number one, the TV plays evil things. So blood, gore, all that kind of stuff. Their food turns into bugs. The water into blood, that can be a little thing. But I think the what would step it up from there is like almost like the furniture comes alive. So you can have like a real kind of like Evil Dead sequence where the chairs are moving and the windows are opening and closing, and like maybe there's a fish on the wall and starts stalking them and it's going crazy. Mr. Fiddle sorry, I'm getting a lot of messages on my phone right now. Kind of distracting me. Okay, sorry. May actually messaged me, so funny enough. Speaking of, I love them. They're awesome. So, furniture comes alive. It's craziness. Maybe they're floating. Maybe they're being tangled up in the curtains. Maybe a pillow's hitting them over the head. What's happening? Maybe Mr. Fiddle speaks and reveals he wants the friends to become his minions of evil. Let's just say that. And so this can be kind of like, if you've seen October, the feature film October, it's like that moment where Pumpkin turns evil and like makes me like almost cut myself from carving the pumpkins. It can be one of those kind of scenes. So it's going to set up that Mr. Fiddle's behind all this. And he can have like a, you know, how much he reveals about his villainous plans we can have here, we can also have later. Kind of depends on the script, in my opinion. But what we can do is like right after that is like maybe even in the same scene, the gang like the gang like smashes him and throws him away. So like smash with a hammer in the garbage, you know, we're done. So the gang goes to bed. So now it's kind of like, wow, that was weird. That was like a really weird thing. We've been up here, kind of like craziness. Now let's bring it back down here. So the gang recovers. They say goodnight and call it a night. So they go to bed. In bed, each member of the gang is taunted by Mr. Fiddle. So maybe Mr. Fiddle appears to each of them. So like first, like maybe I'm sleeping and I roll over and Mr. Fiddle's right outside my window and I'm like, and I like try to throw him away or something, but he's not there. So, so what I'll write. Sees Mr. Fiddle outside window. May sees Mr. Fiddle inside closet. Morgan sees Mr. Fiddle in hallway. So maybe there's like weird noises. So you can kind of see how naturally there's a progression with Mr. Fiddle. So first he's outside, then he's inside the bedroom, then he's inside the hallway. So then Ethan sees Mr. Fiddle inside bedroom. So what you can have here is as Mr. Fiddle moves through the house. Oh my gosh, not the house, the house. Jordan, May, and Morgan follow him. So he wakes me up. Then I try to see what's going on. And then May wakes up, and then I join them, and then we try to... So you kind of see it's kind of like a natural progression. So I wake up, May, Morgan, and we're looking for Mr. Fiddle. Meanwhile, Ethan is dead asleep. Maybe he's all sad in his room, and he's like, my friends are moving. So actually what would be great here is if Mr. Fiddle comes to Ethan, tempts him, and is like, I have the power. He has the power to keep friends together. Yeah, something like that. So like maybe he's in bed. After that, then I'll just put Ethan's friends arrive and smash Mr. Fiddle and throw him away. Okay. That happens a second time. And then it's kind of like, from there, you could probably have a scene where Ethan's like, they throw him away, and after they throw him away, the gang stays up, paranoid that Mr. Fiddle will come back. They decide to keep watch. Yeah, so you can have, and that can be kind of a couple different scenes, but essentially they're, talking together. They're locking all the windows, they're shutting the doors, and then they're like, okay, we're gonna keep watch, make sure Mr. Fiddle doesn't come back. So maybe what can happen there is, so actually, I know I said I'd highlight all the stuff. I'm realizing I'm actually ended up deleting a bunch of stuff. Okay, that's how writing goes. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. It usually changes. So what will happen next is I think Mr. Fiddle, you can have a lot of dialogue scenes here. So you can have kind of low-key drama moments where like the friends are just talking to each other. I think on Ethan's watch, Mr. Fiddle calls to him. And it's like that Darth Sidious thing where he's like, I have the power to save, keep your friends together. And Ethan's like conflicted, right? During this temptation, Mr. Fiddle gets inside the house. And Mr. Fiddle wakes up and starts doing magical stuff to scare everyone. So now they're like, okay, this would actually be really fun. So the gang tries to leave, but doors are locked. So they're trapped in the house. We got to get out. Only way to do that is to kill Mr. Fiddle. So the gang sticks together, plan an attack. So maybe Mr. Fiddle is on the roof. Yes, I went there. If you know, you know. That made no sense to you. You'll figure it out later. Okay, so Mr. Fiddle's on the roof. The gang fights their way to the roof and are about to kill Mr. Fiddle when Mr. Fiddle gives Ethan an ultimatum. So this can be like that moment in Avengers Infinity War where they all got Thanos tied down and Peter Quill has got to help out, but he listens to Thanos and then it screws everyone up. That's what we're going for right here. So Ethan listens to Mr. Fiddle because he really wants his friends to stay. He's really conflicted. He wants to be with his buddies. And he listens to Mr. Fiddle, but Mr. Fiddle tricks Ethan and sends the gang to the Fiddle space where they're all together, trapped. Remember, this is like the Phantom Zone. kind of. It's like the Phantom Zone, pretty much. But it's like a dimension of, I don't know what. It's all kind of nonsense, if we're honest. And from there, I find personally that this section right here, as vague as it is, and as goofy as the story is, usually I don't change much for the outline, but I will add a few things just for this, because, usually if you've set up your story correctly, the ending should just flow to you naturally. At least it does for me. So the gang will have an argument. He'll be like, I'm sorry, guys, I love you so much. And they're like, it's okay, we'll get out somehow. The gangs accept his apology. Their tears form a sword of friendship. Yeah, I know, this is really dumb and cartoony, but it'd be fun to make and kind of hilarious. So, sword of friendship. They use the sword to cut their way out of the dimension. So the gang then, there'd be a big battle sequence. Mr. Fiddle is in the house. It's kind of a retread of the previous what do you call it, set piece, where they're running through the house trying to get him. This time they do defeat Mr. Fiddle, and because I can just read through this document, I kind of know where it's going to go. I don't really need to fill in all that stuff. Aftermath is Ethan is at peace with moving away, really. So they defeat Mr. Fiddle. He's like, then the end scene could be them like saying goodbye to each other. And Ethan's like good with it. He's okay. So there's the outline for Mr. Fiddle. I don't know when I'll get the chance to do the scriptment, and when I do the scriptment, I'm probably not going to go through the entire script. I might just do the first act, and then for the script part, probably the same thing. I'll probably just write a couple scenes because it'll be a super long time. But we are busy. We're tied up with Video Carnage right now, so I'm not sure when I'll get to the next part, but hopefully soon. Hopefully it won't be as long. But anyways, there you go. Hopefully you learned from that. If you have any questions about screenwriting or outlining or anything related to no-budget filmmaking, leave a comment down in the description. I hope you learned from this. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Let me know if there's anything else you want to know about this kind of thing. And thanks for watching. See you in the next one.